Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Lock Shop on a game day. The EST parlay is already up. We will get to that here on the Lock Shop today, obviously brought to you by our great partners over at Coolbet. If you have not yet checked out Coolbet, when you do, use the code LOCKSHOP and you'll get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to 200 smackaroos. What's your favorite play for the Oilers and Canucks tonight? We will get into that. And also, if you're watching on the computer, or even if you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, I mean, you might be tech savvy in some way, shape, or form. So I do have a good question for you today. I've been working on my computer for like the last couple hours between shows. And right now, no key will let me push it twice. Like if I push H, I can't push H again right away. See you later, Dino. Thanks for coming in, buddy. Good chat. It's weird, and it's not just like one key. I know some people are like, hey, maybe there's a crumb under there, but it's every key. It's like I hit the keyboard once. So if I hit F, let's just say I hit F, I can't hit F again. But I can hit G, and then I can go back to F. So it's just like, it's really weird. If I want to go FG, 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 I can, but I can't go FFF, and I can't go GGG. I've never seen anything like this. Really, really weird.
Jim Johnson's saying you have sticky keys on.
Okay, how do I turn off sticky keys then?
I think it's, you have to hold shit. Hold on.
How do you, are you looking it up, Zacticum?
Yep.
How do I turn off sticky keys? I've never heard of sticky keys.
Windows 10 or 11. Settings, accessibility, keyboard, sticky
Settings?
keys. So somewhere in settings.
Okay, settings, accessibility.
Or you can press
There must
the
be a
shift
button.
key
There must
5 times, apparently.
But there's no way I would have hit the. Okay, what'd you say? Settings?
Yeah, just go to...
And then what'd you say after settings?
Accessibility.
Accessibility. Oh, yeah, there it is.
And then keyboard, sticky keys.
Keyboard, sticky keys. Let's see here. Sticky keys. It says it's off.
Huh.
Maybe I'll flip it on and off, and maybe that'll make a...
Maybe.
Oh, it won't even let me turn it on and off.
Well, Kick Soda's saying, yep, just hammer that left
here
shift.
we are. Set the sensitivity of the keyboard so it can more brief. I don't know. I'll have to... this must be where it is. Anyway, it's weird. Kick Soda says, just hit left shift a bunch. Jim says, select ease of access keyboard settings in the search results. Toggle the switch use under sticky keys to off and on. All right, so there I turned it on. Let's turn that back off. We'll see if it works. Maybe we'll get to the bottom of this. Look, Huss is sliding into the lock shop mid keyboard lesson about sticky keys. It's that type of day. It's that type of day around here. Huss, what's up, buddy?
What's going on? What is going on?
Welcome to EST Tech Talk, Huss. As I couldn't do 2 letters at once in a row. If I hit F, I couldn't hit F again. Oh, but we're back, baby. Whatever happened, it worked. There we go. It's all fixed up.
Thank you. Crowdsourcing solutions from Zach as well as the chat.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
Whatever works. Whatever works. Boy, we got lots to get to today. Pete Gregoire's going to pop by. We'll get into Wells Fargo as a Wednesday here in the Lock Shop. We like to hit our best bets for the upcoming golf weekend. Pete Gregoire still owes us a victory lap after last weekend, right?
Listen, we're going to need to add in 5 minutes. Get him in 5 minutes earlier because there is going to be an epic Barry Horowitzing from Pat to himself. A very deserved Barry Horowitzing with the old self-pat on the back for that 80-1 banger for Coolbet's own Taylor Pendrith. What an awesome win last week. So I'm looking forward to Pat doing the full victory lap and tour when he joins us a little bit later on. How about those games last night?
Buddy, 2 great games last night. 2 outstanding hockey games last night. Like the Rangers. So I'm watching Rangers. I picked that game up with about 10 minutes left in the first when the kids were kind of going to bed. Or 10 minutes left in the third. And then I watched the rest of that game, and I was like, man, this game is great. And then I kind of flipped over to the Dallas game. I saw Dallas was up with 3-0. I was like, well, at least we get this this game tonight, like this Rangers Canes game. And then that one ends, and then all hell breaks loose and Colorado storms back. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better night in round 2 of the National Hockey League playoffs, buddy. That was sensational.
It was phenomenal. And I admittedly, I probably spend more time focusing on the West. The Central Division games, the Pacific games, Oilers, Jets, from the first round. That Rangers Carolina series, is absolutely phenomenal. It was a classic last night. I will say this: that was such a bogus penalty on Brady Shea.
How does that? And it sucks that game ends on that penalty, right, Huss? Like,
I couldn't believe, watching the replay. I was just stunned that was called at that point. And listen, Carolina went 0 for 5 on the power play. They can blame themselves for not ending it earlier. They did have a couple opportunities in overtime, but it was just a surprising call. But you know who's ready for prime time right now? Igor Shesterkin. Like he earned his check last night. They're not even in that game in the third period if he doesn't play at a pretty high level last night. And then, they got it done. Vince Trocheck. He's a gamer, man. What a heck of a play on the game winner. And now the Canes are up against it. It'll be interesting. We'll have to get into and just see how the odds are reflecting the predicament the Canes are in, despite having not lost at home yet. And I think that is important to remember. That
is always important. They can go home, win a couple of games, and then it's the old classic. It's a best of 3 at that point for the Carolina Hurricanes. What'd you think of Trouba? What do you think of Trouba last night, flying over Marty Necas? I love your tweet. Did you say he rhinos himself into the boards?
Yeah, he went full rhino into the boards. I don't know whether he was completely trying to clip him with the elbow, but he was incredibly lucky that he didn't make contact with his elbow to the head, because that would have been multiple games. And then he was also lucky he didn't paralyze himself, because he did go full rhino into the boards. And then he was also lucky, and Necas was lucky, that when his skate went down and hit his head, that it wasn't in a more dangerous area, and luckily hit him in the helmet. The entire thing was just an absolutely bizarre play, and that is a play that literally only one player in the NHL, I think, is capable of doing, and that's Jacob Trouba. He hits to make you remember him. And even though he didn't make contact with that one yesterday, everyone's going to remember that hit. But it could have been way worse physically. And the captain of the Rangers is lucky that he's not getting a call from player safety if that elbow that he stuck out when he missed his player didn't contact the head, because that would have been a bad one, and certainly would have been disciplined.
Penner's Pancakes, and I would agree with him. I don't even think this is an exaggeration. Says Shesterkin probably made 5 legit game savers last night. I think that was true. What was it? Was it the end of the third, or was it was it at the end of the first overtime when the Rangers had that power play and the Hurricanes had 2 glorious shorthanded opportunities? I think that was at the end of regulation, wasn't it? It was
that was the end of the third. The Rangers got a power play with 1.5 minutes left, and there was 2. The pass that Stahl made to Seth Jarvis on the 2-on-1 was brilliant, and they could have scored then. And then about 25 seconds later, there was another 10-bell opportunity. I'll say this: the Rangers, goaltending is a part of it. The way the game was actually played on the ice, I think Carolina deserved the game, but you got to do something on the power play, as has been illustrated in spades in the first round of the playoffs. And you know what? Great teams have their goalies bail them out every now and then, and that is exactly what the Rangers did. And New York's in a very, very nice situation heading to Carolina up 2-0.
Carolina series price right now, and remember, they are going home for games 3 and 4. And it's not like they played poorly through these first 2 games. Shesterkin's been excellent. Shesterkin didn't even really have a great regular season, so he's been outstanding. Carolina right now plus 235 to win the series. If you're not dead on them yet, because they do get to go home. They get to go home, but they still have to win 4 of 5, which is not going to be easy against the New York Rangers. So you can get that number right now at plus 235. What about Dallas, Colorado last night, Huss? How big a blow is that for the Stars, do you think, To be up 3-0, game one, at home, you're thinking, okay, this is a nice start to this series right here. And then at the end of the night, you're walking out of that building a loser. I don't know how they can overcome it, obviously, but that one stings the way it happened.
It was like they carried over their momentum from game 7 into the first period, dominated. We're up 3-0. And then the wear and tear of that 7-game series against Vegas kicked in, and the fact that the Colorado Avalanche had been chilling for a week after beating the Winnipeg Jets allowed them to get back into it. I mean, we talked about this before. The Avalanche, and take it from a Jets fan who saw it in person, close up in the first round. The Avalanche were playing at a level like unlike anything we've seen so far this year. And it's not just McKinnon, who was brilliant, and Makar, who was also brilliant, and Rantanen, who's going right now. But the depth of their lineup is really making a difference. Like, that Trennan is a pain in the ass, although he needs to stay out of the penalty box. I mean, he's making a difference on the fourth line. And Miles Wood, like, this was not a guy we spent a lot of time talking about going into the first round Jets-Avs series. We very quickly were talking about him. I mean, right out of game 1, he was making a difference. I mean, what an OT winner last night. And, you know, when you have that much, like, Colorado's always been sort of like, well, they're really top heavy. If you can sort of handle or get a soft with their top players, you should be okay. That's not the case anymore. And I'll say this, Georgiev, who is under so much pressure at the end of the regular season and after that terrible game 1, I mean, he's certainly not stealing games or anything like that. But after going down 3-0, he made a few big-time saves in the second and especially the third to keep Dallas at 3, allowing Colorado the chance to get back into the game. Made a couple nice ones in overtime, and the Avalanche strike first. And that's a huge, huge win for Colorado, knowing that they get kind of carrying their momentum through from the Winnipeg series. And, you know, Dallas, they did it in the first round, losing their first 2 games at home. Doing it again is going to be tough. I would suggest that is a must win for the Dallas Stars coming up in game 2 tomorrow night.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you. They got to get it done in game 2. There's no way they pull that off again, being down 2-0 with the losses at home, and especially against Colorado. Colorado's just a better team than Vegas. I love this text comes in to 780-218-9999 if you're listening on TuneIn or on iHeart or at edmontonsportstalk.com. 780-218-9999 if you're watching over on YouTube. Hammer the thumbs up for us. Huss, we surpassed 8,000 subs today.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's nice. It was a big day. Matty Iwanek says he doesn't want us to celebrate it too much. He's like, no video or anything. He goes, celebrate it, but let's not get too crazy until we hit 10,000. You know Iwanek, right? Very calm and cool.
Although, listen, anytime you get to another... Like, you have to acknowledge it, but you can have a little bit more fun and make a bigger deal of it once you get to
once you get to 10. Yeah, the Big 10 is going to be big. Anyway, this text comes in and says, guys, I needed OT for Sagan to record the over 2.5 shots to hit a weekend parlay. I hit it. Now I can treat myself to a hot lunch and not tell my wife. Also, I would like to change my text handle to Bramble Thistleforge. It's my Dungeons and Dragons character. So now, like in our inbox, his name will come up as Bramble Thistleforge. Huss, did you ever play Dungeons and Dragons at any point in your life? Like, I did a lot of nerd shit, but I never played Dungeons and Dragons, ever.
Very early on, when it came out, some of my friends were into it, and I guess I went there for a game. I was very interested in all the different dice.
Yeah.
Like the 20-sided dice, and I don't know those. But
I don't know anything about the dice. I know nothing. I know nothing about this.
Well, they literally have a 20-sided die, and you roll it for things. But honestly, I just didn't have the attention span for it then, and I don't think I'd have it now. So I do not have a lot of D&D, literally no D&D background whatsoever, other than seeing the 20-sided die as a kid, and then kind of moving on to what other mischief I was into.
All right, let's get to the NHL action tonight. The Edmonton Oilers and Vancouver Canucks open up. We'll spend a little bit more time on that. The series player totals, what we were asking for yesterday, were posted. I got on a few of those last night. We can quickly run you through those. Florida Panthers, Huss, the other game, the first game tonight. Bounce back here for the Panthers, minus 161 on the money line right now.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of got by the Bruins in game number 1. They carried that momentum over from game 7 into it. We'll see whether they can do it again tonight. But this is much like game 2 is going to be big for Dallas. This is going to be huge for Florida. I mean, they don't want to lose those first 2 games on home ice and then have to do it again. Listen, I know they came back from 3-1 last year, winning 2 of the final 3 games in Boston. That's not the path that you want to take, especially if you're planning on winning the Stanley Cup. They got to get back into this one. Listen, I like the Panthers on the money line. And even though we weren't even close last time, I don't mind the Panthers in regulation as well tonight, plus 104, which is a little bit better of a number than we got in game 1.
I mean, if they're going to come to play tonight, they should come to play enough to get it done in regulation. Could see Boston running on a bit of fumes in this game. They've already got the one on the road, right? Like, go home with a split already. You should be fat and happy. So I would agree. I mean, you said it. They got us, but I would definitely go back to Florida Panthers regulation tonight at plus 104.
The guy that does the one thing that gives me pause, though, is Swayman.
I mean, he's been lights out. That's, fair enough.
Mind right now. But listen, you're going to have to beat teams like that and goaltenders like that if you want to win a 4-game series. So I do like the Panthers tonight to get it done. And then, of course, why don't you take this? I mean, give us a bit of a primer. Game 1, Oilers Canucks, as well as the series options that are out for people if they want to. Much like last time, we were talking about the Zach Hyman over and joked that he might get it in game 1.
Yeah.
And he did. There's probably some pretty neat options for Oilers.
There are some pretty good props right now for this series. Some series points, player goals as well. We'll whip you through that. I mean, I just want to drop the puck here in game 1. I'm sick and tired of previewing this series. We've been previewing this series for like 4 days in this city. Let's drop the puck, and then people on either side, Oilers fans, Canucks fans, will have something legitimate to bitch about instead of just whining about each other. So I want the puck to drop tonight. The Edmonton Oilers right now are minus 134 road favorites in this game. The total is set at 6.5. We know the Canucks are playing some low-scoring games against the Nashville Predators. We know the Canucks have been good defensively, and the Oilers had no problem, dialing in a defensive style of game against the Los Angeles Kings. I wonder where we are at. Like, does this game start slow tonight? Is there a feeling out process, or is it just both teams balls to the wall right from the very beginning, Huss? If you had to lean one way or other on that type, like, is this a feeling out process for these two teams, or is it let's go set the tone early in this thing?
Oh, I think that I think this is going to be a game where there's a lot of energy, a lot of physicality. Like, I think the first period in particular is going to be. I don't think it's necessarily we describe it as a feeling out process. I think we're going to describe it as introducing each other with some physicality right out of the gate. Now, I mean, Edmonton's bread and butter is their offense. Certainly they're going to look to get that going. But I think there is a level of, particularly when you have rivals like this that are in the division, a bit of intimidation. Like for Vancouver, they're going to be showing up and saying, listen, we're not afraid of you guys, and we're going to bring it to you. And Edmonton, I think, is going to try to, establish their dominance early on and get up and test the goaltending. I mean, I really think this is going to be a fun series. I am not of the opinion that it's going to be an Oiler cakewalk in 4 or 5 games. I know a lot of people feel that way. I don't. I really think that the Vancouver Canucks are going to be a tough out for Edmonton. I think this is going to go over 5.5 games. That's minus 167. And I'll probably have a little sprinkle on over 6.5 games. And I'll tell you what, if we do get a game 7 between these two teams.
Oh my God. Oh, buddy.
It will be, hey, it'll be good for business over on EST. I'll tell you that much.
It will be great for business on Edmonton Sports Talk. You were right about that. As for the series totals that we were asking for some of these players, Zach Hyman, who just lit up first series, 7 goals in that series. His total is 3.5 goals in this series, plus 105. Elias Paterson, who did nothing against the Nashville Predators, his goal total is 2.5. Over 2.5 is plus 130, under 2.5 is plus 164, or minus 164, I should say. I played this one last night. I'm expecting another big series from Leon Draisaitl. Over 3.5 goals for Leon Draisaitl in this series, minus 110. So that is one that I got on last night. Other goal totals, Besser's at 2.5, Bouchard's at 2.5. Top goal scorer in the series, Leon Draisaitl plus 280. Really like that number too. I think that should be good if the power play continues to roll. Connor McDavid's goal total set at over 3.5. The under 3.5 is the favorite there at minus 120. JT Miller over 2.5. I did ride with Connor McDavid on the point side of things in this series. His number is set at 10.5. I mean, if this thing goes 7, it's cashing for sure. He could also hit this in 3 games. I mean, I'll take the 10.5 at minus 110. If this is a 6 or a 7 game series, 10.5 is going to cash. I'd be stunned if it didn't. Draisaitl's is at 8.5. Hyman's at 7.5. The Nuge is at 6.5. JT Miller and Brock Besser also at 6.5. Top point scorer in this series, Connor McDavid at minus 161. Wouldn't hesitate to actually sprinkle Leon Draisaitl at plus 425 though, Huss. Like, that's pretty good value for a guy who's been an absolute playoff monster. Like, I could see McDavid finishing with like 1 or 2 more points than Leon in the series, and you could get Draisaitl at plus 425 to maybe squeak one out there. I think that might be worth a little bit of a sprinkle as well. But what do you think here in these player totals?
Well, I mean, you kind of did a pretty good job of jumping over the Oilers stuff. I think we're going to see a big series from JT Miller. Plus money on over 2.5 goals and plus 105 on over 6.5 points. I mean, to me, especially with Elias struggling the way he's been, he is sort of the focal point up front, and the guy just seems to be made for playoff hockey. Great on the draw, always in those dirty areas where you can, pop one in front of the net. And they're going to need him, and he's going to play a ton. So from a Canucks side of things, I do like the JT Miller props. I guess the one guy that we didn't talk about is Quinn Hughes. And Hughes' total points for this series is 4.5. I would normally auto bet that on the over, considering I'm thinking about a 6 or 7 game series. Although I am a little concerned with just how he looked like he was done 3 games into the Nashville series. So I'm a little more cautious. Not that they've said that he's injured at all, but I do think he's probably playing with something. But my favorite bet on the Vancouver side is JT Miller.
I think JT Miller is a much wiser player than the old Elias Paterson is going to get it going. However, Elias Paterson against the Edmonton Oilers, let's just throw this out there. This season in the 4 games that they played, now the first 3 were the Woodcroft, and then the last one, no McDavid, but 4 points in that season opener, 2 points. He's got 7 points in 4 games against the Oilers so far this year. And if you go back 3 more games, he's got 11 points in like his last 7 games against the Edmonton Oilers. So, I mean, maybe gets off the shot. I'd be very interested to see what the matchup is, and we'll get on this on the Oil Stream a little bit earlier on. I know some people in Vancouver have been talking about you're going to want the Lindholm line against one of McDavid or Draisaitl, JT Miller against one of McDavid or Draisaitl, which could leave Paterson to go up against the Ryan McLeod, Dylan Holloway, Corey Perry line. So, I mean, there could be a little bit of a window there for him to have some success as well. The EST parlay has been posted. It has been up since this morning. Didn't have a chance to chat about it on the show this morning. I think it was posted either right after it or right near the end of the show. But if you go to the exclusives page at coolbet.com right now, the EST parlay is moving the needle at plus 350 today. It is Connor McDavid, 2 points or more, Zach Hyman with a goal, and the Edmonton Oilers to win. That's it. That's all. Oilers win, McDavid 2 points, and Hyman to continue to do what he's done in the playoffs so far, and you can get it at plus 350. I mean, if the Oilers are winning tonight, McDavid's likely going to have a couple, and I would assume Zach Hyman scores. So if you like the Oilers to win tonight, just go play the exclusive at plus 350 and get the extra value there.
Connor McDavid has turned the EST parlay into a cash printing press for lock shoppers and ESTers, and I would listen. I just auto ride these now, considering, and it's a nice way to sort of fade. If you're feeling Vancouver, might win, get in on the other side with the EST parlay and see what we can do.
All right, should we bring in Mr. Victory Lap?
Oh,
Pat Gregoire from Coolbet. He's been waiting 3 days to come on and talk about Pendy. Let's bring in Patty. P. Greggy, how are you, buddy?
Pat. Well done. Congratulations. Thank you from the lock shop for that amazing pick.
Zach to come. Wait a sec. Hang on, Patty. I think you're muted on our end. Zach will come in and unmute him. We're going to make him wait just a little bit longer.
I can hear him okay.
Oh, you can hear him? Oh, I couldn't. Yeah. I couldn't hear him. How come why would I not be able to hear him? Well, go ahead, Patty. I mean, if Huskin hears you. Oh, no, that would be the back end. Hang on, Hus. You're probably listening to him on the back end. Zach will get it. Zach will get it switched up here. All right, there we go. Pat, you there?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we got P. Greggy now. Now you are live, my friend. Congratulations,
now I can
Patty.
cook. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Anytime you win on the PGA Tour, you cash a ticket. It's a special day. Anytime it's a long shot, an 80-1, it's an even better day. When it also affects the bottom line of the company you work in on a good note, and your marketing dollars go to a great place, it's even better. I am so absolutely fired up. It was a great day for Coolbet. It was a great day for the Lock Shop. It was a great day for my wallet. But let's be totally honest. It was a great day for Taylor Pendrith. Long overdue. His first PGA Tour win in 79 starts. Pretty impressive the way that he won it. You guys already broke it down and how it unfolded. But a lot of chatter at the start of the week. You know, he was pretty transparent, pretty honest. He's been dealing with some injuries, his shoulder. He's still battling through it. But man, oh man, did he look healthy. And that is the Taylor Pendrith that when we started our partnership, that's the Taylor Pendrith, you know, we know and love. That's the Taylor Pendrith that people were talking about him at the start of the year should be up for the Rookie of the Year 2 years ago. This is a guy that's always had it. It's just health hasn't been on his side. And when he's crushing the ball, which he was this week, when he's hitting putts and his chipping, the magic beans that he had, it was unbelievable. All kidding aside, of course, yes, I'm all sorts of fired up to come on and brag about how much of a dimple head I am and how brilliant I am, and looking at the chat and saying you're welcome. But Taylor Pendrith truly is one of the best guys on tour. He's an awesome guy, salt of the earth. Seeing him celebrate with his wife and his kid and his caddy as well, not only just a caddy, a really close personal friend of his, it honestly was a really special moment.
Well, and you know what? This is also, I mean, let's back out a little bit. This period for Canadian golf, pretty much unprecedented. I mean, you know, like another Canadian winner, which I believe is 6 of 8 on tour, getting into the winner's circle is, I mean, it is huge, especially considering the live guys are out and we're going to have plenty of Canadian content playing for Mike Weir in Montreal at the President's Cup coming up in September. And Pendy all but stamped his spot on the team, I think, with that one as well. But Pat, I have to ask you, and we won't get into numbers of like what the sponsorship is worth, but if we talk to Darren Rovell and when he breaks down the amount of TV time and the value of it, was that the best value play of all time for Coolbet, considering how much time the Cool Bear was on the television in that final round?
Well, you know, with the exception of obviously the Lock Shop, WST, EST, of course, those are pretty good value plays if you ask me as well. But no, in all seriousness, the amount of awareness, whether it was the broadcast and, you know, seeing his shoulder with the Coolbet logo here after he chips in, you know, back-to-back eagles, or when he on Sunday flubs his shot into the bunker and looking like he's probably going to bogey this hole now, chips in from the bunker again, waves, Coolbet logo there, holding up the plaque, Coolbet logo. That's just the broadcast. Never mind all the impressions. Never mind all the views that we're getting on social media.
Winning, I mean,
exactly, and that's what it's for. And hey, to full transparency, you got a winning bonus out of us as well too. That's also in the contract, but that's also money well spent. So we're really excited. It was really, really, you know, a great day for Coolbet, a great day for all of us here, but genuinely just really happy for Taylor. And I think again, I understand. I'm also a little bit was pumping up the tires of a guy that we're supporting, but after seeing the way that he played, at the Zurich Classic, up close and personal, like he was hitting the ball really well. His iron play was great. His
you
was
said
great.
that when you were making your pick. You're like, I just followed this guy. I see he's playing well right now.
He just looked so calm, and he was the guy making the big putts. It was not Corey Connors. It was Pendy, and you could see that confidence with the flat stick. That carried over big time. It really did. And these are the things that can carry over. Now you talk about it, Huss. This win means so much for him. He's now in these elevated events for the rest of the week, the year. That's why he's in this tournament this week that we're going to be talking about. He's in the PGA Tour, the PGA Championship in 2 weeks now. He's put himself now potentially in contention if he continues this way into the Masters, into the Open Championship. Heck, you talk about the implications for Team International. I think his last 2 weeks have really cemented him into a spot, I think, as potentially a captain's pick. If he goes on a bit of a heater, guys, we could be talking about him playing in Paris in the Olympics. He is very much in the mix to I know he's got some work to do. Nick Taylor is by and far and away the number one golfer on the world golf rankings for Canadians, but it's the top two go. And he is only a couple of spots behind Adam Hadwin now, and I think less than 10 spots behind Corey Connors. So a couple of really good finishes here over now he's in signature events, which means more. Now he's in at least one more major. That means more. We could be talking about him being an Olympian at some point this year, fellas. This is exciting.
Hey, and just quickly, a shout out to Shane Train, who alerted me to the fact that Pendy has been added to the PGA, and as if I wasn't going to put a little sprinkle on him at 500 to 1. I mean, that is and hell, 125 to 1 this week at Wells Fargo. Listen, it's tough to win, never mind back to back, but I do think that this win is going to give him a lot of juice going forward. I mean, this isn't just great, I won and now not do anything. I mean, once you feel you can do it, you want to do it again. You feel like you belong, and I'm with you, Patty. The Taylor Pendrith stock is going way up right now, and I think there's still some great value. If you do want to have a piece of him for either this week or the PGA Championship the following week.
I just quickly, as I'm sitting here thinking, Patty, if I go out and shoot like a 71 this year, can I get a bonus? Like that would be that'd be pretty sick. I mean, I usually shoot in the low 90s. 9? I mean, I usually shoot. Yeah, exactly, Huss. Well, I mean, I'm not that bad. I'm not good. I'm somewhere between 90 and like 105 consistently. So, I mean, if I roll out a 71, Pat, I think you're safe. I don't think you have to worry about me being like, hey, Patty, here's my card. Send me my bonus. But that's awesome for Pendy, man. Like, just what a week. Like, what an absolutely incredible week for him, for you guys, for everybody, for us who are riding with you on the big number as well. That was great.
And quickly, full transparency for the folks listening at home. I was in the media booth in Buffalo, New York, calling a game 2.
Oh, you would have been doing NLL
semifinals. Yeah. So I had my iPad open with not just my game notes, but I also had on a small screen there the feed of the CJ Cup Byron Nelson, and everyone. Our director knew that I had money on him. He's giving me updates in my ear. My partner, John Abbott, knew I had money on it. So, I tried to be as focused as I could. But as I'm getting updates from you guys and the boys, I'm getting updates from the guys in the truck about it. It was awesome. And, luckily on a commercial break, I was able to shoot off Taylor's agent a big congratulations, and that's what I was texting you guys. And yeah, it was pure madness. I wish ideally would have loved to have been just outside of Dallas and boots on the grounds with them, but I also would have loved to been on a couch watching it. But hey, can't complain. I still thought it was a pretty unique experience, sweating that one out.
All I could think
while calling a game.
All I could think about when what was the guy that he beat? What was his name again?
Knowles, I think it was Coles or Knowles. Yeah,
Coles. Doesn't matter. You're never going to hear about that again. I feel so bad for him.
When he chunked that chip and did not get it out of the rough on 18. all I could think about was you in the middle of calling a lacrosse game with one eye on this thing, completely losing your mind, knowing that Pendy was right back in. And then when he missed the putt, I'm like, this is the most challenging moment of Pat's broadcasting career right now, as we see. Trying to keep it together, focus on the job at hand, and then watch the group text go off with Pendy and Canadian flags and money bag emojis after the win. It was awesome. And you know what? It's a hell of a way to bring us into the next 2 weeks on tour. Are going to be amazing. We've got an unbelievable tournament this week with Wells Fargo, and now the PGA Championship, which has capitulated, if you will, added a bunch of the live players, which is going to make the field stronger. Although, Pat, the big story, both for this week and potentially next week, is our guy, Ludwig Åberg, had to pull out, and now certainly I think you'd say has to be questionable for next week and a tougher play. Right, I'm just looking at the odds right now. I mean, you got, like, this is for PGA the following week. Scheffler, of course, is the favorite, 4-1. Rory's at 12. But Ludwig was the next guy on the list, along with Brooks Koepka at 16-1. That would be a big, big loss for the tourney if he wasn't able to go. But I also think it's going to be a lot tougher to bet him right now if you haven't already got in on him, just because of the fact that he isn't able to play this week.
Yeah, I got in on him on that Sunday after, his great showing at the Masters. So I got him at a better number. I'll have to go back and check my bet history. It wasn't much better than what it was this week, but it's difficult. It's a knee. And this is a guy that, is a big hitter. Mind you, he does everything really well. Let's be honest. But the fact it's a knee, like that's something that, you need in the game of golf. It's maybe not as detrimental as, let's say, a back or a shoulder, but it's something for cause for concern. And that's why, the odds were affected. This is a really interesting stretch coming up. And I think that's why we saw a few guys last week pull out last minute. When we saw Willie Z pull out, he's back in. But when you look at the upcoming schedule, it's, Wells Fargo this week, elevated event, PGA Championship, major, Charles Schwab. I believe that's another elevated event at Colorado. Then you got the Canadian Open, which normally is an event that a lot of guys like playing. A lot of guys like coming up to Canada. It's a great crowd. This year it's at Hamilton Golf and Country Club. So I think we're going to see still a pretty impressive field. Maybe not as good as the last couple of years, but some big names have already committed to that. Rory being one, some other really good names. Then you've got the Memorial, which is, again, another really strong tournament. And then it rolls right into the U.S. Open. Like this stretch, fellas, buckle in, because we are about to see some really, really good golf. And that's why I think it doesn't matter that this is a designated event. That's why Åberg pulled out this week. That's why Willie Z pulled out last week. And we didn't even mention no Scotty Scheffler this week.
Yeah, no Scotty Scheffler. Yeah.
So I think the conversation has to start here, fellas. And maybe it's a spoiler alert to your card, but you got to think, is this the best chance that Rory's got to win one of these big events with no Åberg and with no Scotty? Like, are you guys willing to put him at this card at this price, considering, he doesn't have those two other guys that will be, breathing down his neck?
I haven't bet on Rory in 2 years, and and listen, it's not, I like Rory. I hope he does win, but I just haven't seen, bottom line is his numbers are usually so short. It's been hard to justify it considering the way that he's playing.
Agreed.
And listen, him playing great this week would, I think, give a lot of people some interest in. And listen, he does have a great history at Quail Hollow. I mean, that's one of the other things. Patty, just for a minute, like when we're getting into this, like what, from what you have dug up, like the type of player, the strengths of a player to win this, like what sort of players are you looking at before we kind of dive into who you're taking for this event? Like, I think being great off the tee is important. You have to be long, but you can't be all over the place. And that's why a guy like Xander Schauffele actually is getting a lot of run right now to potentially win. He's been so close. He's been top 10 a bunch of times. His game really does seem, but it does seem like that the skills off the tee, more important at Quail Hollow from what I gather than a lot of other courses on tour.
Yeah, it is. Not necessarily the mashers. It is important for those guys. It's just keeping it in play. Ball striking, obviously, that second shot, if you will, is always important. That approach game from, 175, that mid-range, that's really important as well. Bogey avoidance, super important. I mean, it's very important at most golf courses, but here as well. And of course, putting. I think putting's another thing that will come into play. I don't necessarily think it's going to turn into a putting contest, but if you gain strokes, at least a lot of the research that I've been doing, a lot of guys have a lot of heavily weighted stats on guys who have gained strokes over the past, 16 to 24 rounds. Those are the three that I've looked at. I also think that this is a unique course. This is one of the premier courses that we do see on tour. So course history is another aspect that I looked in when making some of my picks as well.
Well, let's get into them, boys. Patty, I mean, the floor is yours, Mr. 80-1. Who do you like here this week?
Full disclosure, I don't know if we see a winner from that far up the board, to be quite frank. I think at these elevated events, at a course like Quail Hollow, I think that we see the cream rise to the top. So there are a couple of picks who I think are, near the top of the board. And the first one is Wyndham Clark. He's proven that this guy is a big game hunter. When the lights are brightest, he shines. In 5 elevated events so far this season, fellas, he has a victory, a second, and a third. That also doesn't include his T2 finish at the Players Championship. He won this event last year by 4 strokes. And that time of year, he was the 80th ranked golfer on the planet. He is now the 3rd best player
what a
on
run.
the planet. This is what kick-started that run, right? And the best part of all, the only golfer who seems to be able to beat him when he's in contention is Scottie Scheffler, and Scottie Scheffler's not in this group. So I really like Wyndham Clark, 16-1. I also like him to finish in the top 10 at plus 188. Another guy who has some course record here and has picked up his form as of late, Max Homa. First and foremost, my jaw hit the floor when I saw this number. What are we doing here, Coolbet? What are we doing here? 25-1?
I know.
I've seen him as I know. I'll be quiet. I'm sorry. I've seen him as low as 17-1.
Yeah.
On some books.
First bet I made. This is
a no-brainer. Absolutely. And Dalton Finkbeiner of Score Golf brings up a great point, buddy of mine. He says when he wins an event, he usually repeats the event as a winner or has a lot of really good follow-ups. And he's won this event already, and it was at Quail Hollow. So he's played really well here. He won the Fortinet Championship back-to-back, and then he won the Genesis in 2021. Well, in 2023, he finished, I think, T2. I mentioned he's won here. He's also finished T3 here. And he's in the top 10 of stroke gained over the past, I think it was 24 rounds at Quail Hollow. So Homa, 25-1, no brainer. Him to finish inside the top 10 as well at plus 188. And then should come as no surprise, 2 of my guys here to round out the card. Sahith Theegala. Him, his accuracy off the tee certainly is a cause for concern. But he's a guy that, when it comes to magic beans and making big plays, he's the type of guy that has those shots in his bag. He's first in strokes gained putting over the last 36 rounds. He's 10th in the field in bogey avoidance. And over his last 5 starts, he's gained an average of 3 strokes tee to green and another 3 strokes with putting. And similar to what we were talking about, Wyndham Clark being a guy that in these elevated events step up their game, he is in that same category. In the 5 signature events this year, he has 2 runner-up finishes, a 6th, and then he finished inside the top 10 at the Players. And last but not least, again, one of my guys, Akshay Bhatia, 50-1. Also, by the way, I also do like Sahith top 10 at plus 225. But yeah, Bhatia, big game Bhatia, gained strokes with his putter in his last 5 starts, which is massive for him. And over the past 16 rounds, this actually blew my mind. In the past 16 rounds, only Xander Schauffele is ahead of Bhatia in total stroke gains in this field. That is impressive company considering how good this field is. Yes, I get it. Scotty Scheffler is not in there. Yes, Ludwig Åberg is in it. But everyone else pretty much is in there. And he's right there with Xander. He is truly an elite ball striker, and the numbers do prove it. He's also first in total stroke gained approach in this field and second in proximity at that 175 to 200 mark that I was talking about. He already has a win this year, so we know he's not going to shy away if he is in the hunt. So at 51, it is a little bit of a long shot, but I think my favorite play here is him to finish inside the top 20 at plus 120, considering in his last 5 starts, he's finished inside the top 20 4 times.
It's funny you went with Max, and I kind of figured that you would. As I mentioned, that was the first bet that I made. And I think your point about course history at a place like this is important. That's a great reason why, if you've been waiting to bet Rory McIlroy, Rory has an incredible history at this course. But I love where Max's game is at. We saw him take a huge step up in his majors at the Masters. And now, a week out of the PGA Championship, he comes back to an event that he has won twice, including once at Quail Hollow. And again, to your point, the number is just too good. I would have been fine at 20 to 1 on this, but the fact that there's a 25 hanging on Max Homa, it was impossible to turn away from. And I think we all know Max is a really fun guy to cheer for, a fun guy to have a bet on. So we certainly love it. Another guy that I think has some great value that I have been on this year that I'm going back to right now is Matt Fitzpatrick. And Fitz at 40 to 1, I think, is another great value play. Pat, you talked about, those mid-range and longer irons. That's the bread and butter of Fitz's game. And, if he can start rolling them on the greens, we've seen him win a major before in the U.S. Open. We've seen him contend and go toe-to-toe with all of these guys in elevated events. I mean, there's no fear of the rest of the guys in. I mean, if he gets it going, he's got the game to beat anybody on tour. And if you look back at his history, Max won this event in 2022. Fitz was tied for second. So this is a familiar course to him and a place that he has played well and been in contention with before. So at 40 to 1, I love Matthew Fitzpatrick. If you go down the list, like I don't mind Hideki this week, and Hideki's at 35 to 1. I probably am not going to play him outright right now, but if we're talking about looking at guys that can be in the mix on Sunday, we maybe want to throw a top 20 in. He's minus 110 for that. Certainly like Hideki's potential of doing it. And the one other guy that I'll throw out that I don't particularly like, I thought we might get a better number on him. However, Cam Young's game is tailor-made for a place like Quail Hollow with his game off the tee. At some point, he's going to get over the hump, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a course like this. I probably am not going to play. I mean, you can only play so many guys on outrights. If I added an extra guy in that group from 25 to 40, I think is Hideki. But I think that the numbers on those guys are great value considering 16 for Wyndham Clark, like a 20 on Cantlay, 10 on Xander Schauffele. I mean, these are guys that can win. They can play with all those guys. They've got good course history. And I don't mind their chances to win. And obviously, you're getting a much better number than the guys right near the top of the card.
I think the parlay is going to – Max Homa is the number one guy on my list. So you guys have already laid it out for Max Homa. It's going to be easy to have him in some type of parlay. The other two guys I'm looking at you haven't brought up yet. I'm going to get a Tommy Fleetwood at 30 to 1. T14, T5 over the last few years here. T5 in 2023, T14 at Quail Hollow back in 2021. And I know he just missed. He was RBC Heritage. He was T49. Did not start well. Finished with back-to-back 69s. But prior to that, he was T7 at the Valero and, of course, T3 at the Masters as well. So, I mean, Tommy Fleetwood's been playing some pretty good golf. He's been inside the top 15 here twice, including T5 last year as well. So I like Tommy Fleetwood at 30-1. And then further down the list, a little bit of a longer shot here, but he's been playing well. Last 5 starts, he's got 4 top 20s and a T5. And that would be Sepp Straka, who always seems to sort of just find himself in the mix recently. He's been playing well for like a couple years now, but he's been playing really good lately. He's 66-1. So if you're looking for a little sprinkle a little bit further down the list, Straka at 66-1 would be the guy that I would look at. But Max Homa, by far my favorite play of the week. I know there'd be a bunch of people hopping on him at 25-1, so you probably want to move quickly to go hit him there. And I'm going to throw Tommy Fleetwood in the mix as well. But I do like, from a parlay perspective, definitely get Homa in there. I do like having Wyndham Clark in there, maybe for a top 10 or something, Patty. Huss, what else do you think we can do to sort of round out this parlay?
Well, if anything, I think maybe we go top 20s for the parlay.
Okay.
Just, I mean, slamming guys in top 10s in a field like this is tough. I mean, we're basically looking for guys in the mix on Sunday. I think Homa's automatic. I'm with you on Tommy Fleetwood, Dusty, from your side of things. I think we go, so we put in Max, we put in Fleetwood. There's a lot of people that love Sahith this week. I mean, I didn't have him on the card, but Patty, if you've got him there, I mean, I think our other options, we look at Sahith at -110. Obviously Fitzpatrick at even money if we wanted to get in there. But, Sahith, Fleetwood, and Homa, we talked about, we're expecting most of the contenders to be sort of in that top echelon. Those 3 guys are there. And, as they say, all of them individually are minus numbers, but I think we put those together with a bit of a boost. It'll still be a good number by the time Ev Dog gets his hands on it and throws it up in the exclusives.
P. Greggy, what do you think?
I love all of them. I think I didn't mention Fleetwood because I'm not on him. I've been on him far, far too many times, and he hasn't come through, but this is definitely a spot he could. But I had in my notes, I forgot to read it. Tommy Fleetwood top 5 and top 10 is 2 of my favorite bets of the week. So I'm good with Fleetwood. Obviously Homa I'd be fine with. Fitz, if we want to get one of yours in there, Huss, I'd be fine with those.
I'd be okay with Fitz in there as well, Huss. I looked at him briefly. I mean, I decided to mix in a guy further down in Straka just to sort of change up the board a little bit. But if I was going to go with 3 guys a little bit higher up, Fitz would have been one of them. So,
well, I mean, basically it comes down to, who do you guys like better, Sahith or Fitz? Fitz is a slightly better number. I mean, it's not going to change things.
You did say a lot of people were on Sahith this week. Like a bunch of the previews I was reading were loving Sahith this week.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So listen, Pat, you're the decider. You're coming off the win. You get to break the tie. Yes. Sahith or Fitz, along with Fleetwood and Homa, top 20s. Who you got?
You know what? I have Sahith in my Greggy's golf special with Homa and with Wyndham Clark.
All right, so
let's get some variance here. Let's go Homa, Fleetwood, and Fitz
top 20s.
And you're probably looking at, after the boost, maybe somewhere like 750 if I had to guess, somewhere around that ballpark, and it's going to be a nice little number for us.
Excellent. I like that. So what's coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk, buddy?
Well, we're actually going to be talking. Listen, head coach search for the Jets is on. Murat Atesh is going to join us. Milt Stiegel returned to the field today in Bomber rookie camp. Bombing's going to join us down from the park to talk about that. And Chris Peters, fresh off of the U18s. We're going to get to a little bit of draft talk because Macklin Celebrini is going to be a San Jose Shark. And we'll kind of dive into post U18s, the way things are looking, the first mock draft now that we've got the draft order, as well as a few Jet prospects. So it should be a fun one. And certainly we'll be talking about those games last night and then getting ready for some action this evening, including puck drop between the Oilers and the Canucks.
Excellent, boys. Great chat today. Thanks a lot for the time. Well, I guess I won't talk to you tomorrow. I'm going to be off on the road, so I'm going to hand things off to you guys for the next little while. Yeah, I'm gonna try to jam in the morning show while I'm doing this WHL final. It should be a great final, though. I mean, I'm very excited for Portland and Moose Jaw. It should be a lot of fun. So Yeah.
Portland and Moose Jaw. What a wild final. Like,
It's a lot of red and black.
travel
It's a lot of red and black in these two teams. I mean, we'll
the
see.
travel between, like, you got a pretty big city in Portland and then a much smaller metro area in Moose Jaw.
It's the classic Portland to Vancouver, Vancouver to Regina, rent a car in Regina, drive to Moose Jaw. So that's what we'll have in the series.
Easy.
No
No
that's
problem.
nothing.
Just
That's nothing.
can't accord.
Yeah.
There's no direct flight from Moose Jaw to Portland.
No, if you can believe it. What are the odds of that? All right, boys. Well, have fun with it, and I'll catch up with you soon.
We'll be in touch,
There
pal.
you go,
Thanks.
fellas.
There you go. That is
Enjoy the series.
Yeah, thanks, man. That's P. Greggy and Huss. And yes, I'm going to try to still bang out the morning show while I'm on the road calling this WHL final. But Lock Shop, Two Guys Old Stream will have Pat and Jake slide in with Huss. Matty Owanick will slide in sometimes, maybe with Huss if need be, and then obviously on Oil Stream with Tommy and move some guys around. But it should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to calling that series, and I will miss laying on some sweet bets. Although I'll still be betting like crazy. That's not going to stop me. So I'll just be watching the show or listening to the podcast a little bit later on. EST Parlay one more time if you want to hop in on that before we wrap up today. Oil Stream coming up with myself and Tommy Gazzola. Edmonton Sports Stock Parlay still sitting at plus 350. Oilers to win tonight. McDavid over 1.5 points. And Zach Hyman to score a goal is plus 350. So if you were to bet $10 on that, you would win 35 on your initial $10. If you want to ride with us over there. If you're not yet signed up for an account at Coolbet, use the code LOCKSHOP when you do, and you'll get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. Thank you very much for joining us on the Lock Shop today. Best of luck tonight, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.